Hi y'all, it's Susie. Welcome back to my craft room. Today we're going to be working on our gratitude journals, and I just wanted to tell y'all how grateful I am for each and every one of you that come and have subscribed and actually watch the videos and support me. That means a lot to me. Your comments are so inspiring, so encouraging. It lets me know that y'all really like what I'm doing. You like the content that I'm sharing, and that you care about me as a person, and that means so much to me. Okay, I showed y'all the cover that I'm using for my journal, and that I made it out of a package that had patterns in it for embroidery, and that was special to me because I do slow stitching. And then I took some old ledger paper and made some pockets in here. I left these flaps open so that I could use these for pockets. And I did not glue that, well, maybe I tried to glue the middle down and it didn't stay, but anyway, that could be made as two pockets by gluing down the center of that, which, it didn't bother me one way or the other. But basically, I have two pockets here, and then I have a pocket here and here. So that is my cover. I will be putting something to reinforce the spine. Once I've stitched it, I'm probably going to put something around these edges. I did reinforce this paper, and I showed y'all how I did that. And I'm really, really satisfied with the sturdiness of this packaging, and that I left this looking, really vintage on the inside. I have not inked this up yet. I'm not really sure why. I'm not even sure that I want to. I'm not sure yet, so I'm going to kind of hold off on that. Well, I've pulled some things in, and this is some parchment paper that I was using when I made some homemade paper, and this was what was left on the parchment paper, and I really liked the look and the texture, so I was just sitting here and making a quick envelope out of this, and obviously I didn't glue that side down, and this is just going to be an envelope that I'm going to attach somewhere in the journal, maybe. Oh my goodness, I got my glue all stuck. Isn't that special? Okay, bear with me a second, y'all. And, parchment and, any kind of slick papers are very difficult to get the glue to stay. So you probably want to use, like your Fabri-Tac, your art glitter glue, those glues that are, considered, I guess, more, robust, heavy duty, I guess, to try to keep your shiny pieces or your parchment papers or whatever glued down. So that is going to be a pocket that I'm going to use somewhere in here, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking about doing with it as we go through. So I want to leave my pages, and I'm probably going to stamp something, just to give it some interest. I am going to do some things with, you can either use watercolor, which I'll try to remember to incorporate in here, or I'm going to be using some food coloring for sure, because I did bring it along, just to add some interest and techniques in here. The plain pages will be left plain for journaling, and if I want to add, stuff, then it will be to, the ones that I'm not going to use for journaling, such as this. Now, over here, I've made a pocket, so that, will have something in it. A tag, a mini journal, something will go in that. And then I have, more journaling space, another ledger page, and I took one of those brown napkins that was a single layer, and I Mod Podged it on here to reinforce it because this was very, very fragile. And I just put that on there, and I like the look. As I said, I haven't inked any of this, and I'm not sure why, and I'm not sure if I'm going to, but, we'll see. All right, then I'll place a doily in here, and I'm going to embellish this somehow. I'm not sure how yet, but I Mod Podged this doily, both sides, to make it sturdy, because, once you move them a couple of times, they start tearing, and I wanted to give it some strength, so I did Mod Podge both sides. I think I just did one layer on both sides. Okay, and then I took a page. Okay, here is where I was thinking about putting this envelope that I made. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this and attach this flap right there and leave that as an envelope. I could do it, say, well, that wouldn't hold, would it? No, because then everything would fall that way. So I would have to attach it here. And I could attach it down here and leave this where, you know, this is attached, this is a pocket. And then you could lift it up partially and journal here. So I may do that, or I may just glue it down on 3 sides, leave that as a pocket and that as a pocket. So I'm thinking that's where I'm going to put this envelope. The other alternative that I could do is to take my flap of the envelope, fold it over the page, and I would glue this flap down, and then you could open this out like a tip out, like that. And you would still have your pocket here, and you would still have your journaling space. The only problem with doing it this way is you lose a little bit of journaling space. I could cut that flap down a little bit, you know, to give me more, but I think that'll be enough, particularly with the pockets and things. This is a page out of a cookbook, and it was very, very fragile. This was a very old cookbook, so I Mod Podged that, and then I added one of those brown napkins on here to give it the strength and to, you know, make it more vintage looking. And of course some more journaling space in here. And then I took a piece of I think this was tracing paper that I had coffee dyed. It was just, you know, a scrap piece I had left, and I stuck it in here. So that's, you know, that's kind of where I am with that. And I've flirted around with some ideas for this. You know, these are just the other sides of those papers, you know, that I folded to make this pocket. You remember I made that music paper, and I folded this up. I glued it down the middle and on both sides to make pockets there. So, you know, I'm getting myself plenty of pockets. This page I'm not sure what to do with. I have Mod Podged that very good. And then I also placed a brown napkin. And this page was really dark anyway. But I love the look of that old page, and gardening has been a big part of my life. So I want to incorporate it in there. And I may just leave it like that. You know, just like that. I don't care that things stick out. That doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, you can take your piece. If you want all of your edges to be even, you know, nice and neat and lined up like good little soldiers, then you can take your piece and take your ruler, and you want to put it right along this first edge, which should be the same length as your back edge. And if you did that, you would take and line your ruler up with your edge, and then take your craft knife and just not too deep, just, you know, just a couple layers at a time, and you got to hold that real tight. And once you get all the way to the bottom, then all of your pages will be perfectly even, and you won't have anything sticking out, and your pages won't, you know, shift from being folded inside of each other. So, you know, just do you. Whatever is good and comfortable for you, just do that. I do want a little color in here, but I want to be able to write over the color. And so I'm going to do some different things. I want to grab my watercolor paints, and they are over there. And I mean the watercolor paints that are in a palette, the little cheap ones. I also have, you know, the tubes of the better quality paints. Okay. Now, this is a piece of glass that I think was a turntable for a microwave at one time. I'm not real sure where it came from. And the only reason I'm using it is because it is easy to clean. And for the purpose that I'm going to use it for. So, and this is just some old, you know, cling wrap, saran wrap, whatever you want to call it, plastic wrap. You can use, you know, paper packaging. You're not paper packaging. You know, the packaging that stuff is in, that's the plastic, you can use that instead. You can use a baggie to do this, the same thing with, you know, once I put my colors down. You can use a baggie. You can, anything plastic like that you can use. You can use like the plastic little folders like this, you know, so that, because they're easy to wipe off. So whatever you use, just, you know, just do you. So I'm literally just going to reach in here and pull out a color. And this one happens to be Kelly Green. And this is a Wilton icing color. and they are extremely, extremely concentrated. I mean, a little bit goes a long, long way. And by the end of this video, my hands will probably be dyed for days, because I'm telling you, this is very concentrated. It's hard to get off your hands. This one has barely been opened because when you are using it to color icing, I mean, that would be probably too much. That would make a huge, huge dark green. I mean, it would be a really, really deep green. Now, as I said, this does not take much. And this might be way too much on here because I want to be able to see through my color. But I've put some color down. I hope y'all can see that. I've put a little bit of color down. And close this up. And then I'm just going to take some water and squirt it on there. And, you know, however much water you add is going to kind of dilute it. Y'all see how dark green that is? I don't really want that dark of a green. So I'm going to add kind of a substantial amount of water. Or I could always move just a little dab over. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Like I could say, move this over. Kind of separate those out a little bit. And dilute this down some more. And the more water I use, obviously, the lighter the color is going to get. And apparently this is wanting to run down here with this. I guess that I want to be one big happy family. Okay, so like I said, that is very concentrated coloring. If you're using like the stuff you buy at the grocery store in the little bottles, it's not going to be that true of a color. It'll look good to start with, but it's just not a true color. And what I'm going to do with this, you know, you can take it and do it flat like that. You know, you can bunch it up. I like to kind of bunch it up for a couple of reasons. And I should be wearing gloves because, like I said, this will dye my hands. So I'm just going to open up my book and take some pages out and just put a little color on them. And you get this effect. Once this dries, and it dries really pretty quickly, I can still write over that, but it gives some color and some interest to that. So, you know, that turned out really pretty. So now I don't want to do really anything with this page, and I don't even really want to use any more green. So let me show you what I'm going to do with my leftover green, if I can. This is just a piece of 12 by 12 white paper. I can take this and literally set it on there, but it's going to leave a big blob. And I don't want to do that, but I don't want to waste my color either. So I'm just going to take my little plastic, whatever plastic you use, and I'm just going to kind of dab it on there. And what I'm doing is I'm making some beautiful background pages that you can use to cut up for, you know, a page, or you can make a collage on it. And the next color that I use, I'm just going to add it right to this. And this way I don't waste any of my color. And I'm going to go ahead and do the back in case I want a two-sided page, you know, so that whatever. But like I said, I don't want it to be so dark that I can't write on it, and you know, I won't be able to read what I write. So, you know, just do you. Now, I have this spread out enough on here that I could probably, at this point, take and put that down. But I really don't want to take a chance right yet because there is, you know, still kind of some on there. Now, I think I've got it spread out enough and that I could probably take my paper and just kind of mash it down to pick up the rest of that color on there and not waste it. And then it turns out to be a really, really pretty page. And so that's that, and I have not wasted my color. Now this, I'm not going to reuse, obviously, because, you know, it's just tough to clean a piece of paper like that. And I've lost my trash can. I guess it ran off too. All right, so I'll put that aside. So now to clean this, I'm just going to grab me some paper towels. You can use your wipes, and I think I need to bring my wipes in here. I washed a whole pile of them the other day and forgot to bring them back in. Because as y'all know, I reuse mine. I recycle, as long as I can. And, once they fall apart, then they fall apart. But, to me, it's an expense, and I want to, do the best that I can. And you can use, water. You can use soap and water. You can use your dishwashing liquid. You can use glass cleaner, all-purpose cleaner, whatever, when you're cleaning off whatever it is that you're using, to do these kind of techniques. And, you just want to get it up. And so this paper towel, I could have used like the back of napkin pieces, that we take off, that we don't use. And you could color your napkin pieces, with what was on the plate. You could, just set that down like that. And that's another way to clean your plate up. And then you would have really pretty napkins, with color on them. So there's a lot of things you can do. So I can literally dry this and save it and use it in my embellishments, and it turns out beautifully. So just try to think of everything that you can do to reuse. Now I'm just going to reach over here and grab something else, and this one happens to be red. Okay. Now, if I'm doing Christmas, I think the red and green would be pretty. Any other time, because everybody just associates those colors with Christmas. And they shouldn't, because red and green are really pretty together. However, if my green were still wet and you mixed the red and it, and the red and green kind of, went together, it would create a muddy look. So I don't really want to add green to that. Let me see what else I have over here. This one I'm going to kind of see what I'm doing. Green and let's do some blue. How about some blue? Blue would be pretty. All right, so now, when you get your color, if you're using these concentrated colors, you're going to use a toothpick or a skewer, or these little toothpick thingies that I got at Dollar Tree, whatever. And I do wash these and reuse these too. And the wooden ones, not so easy to do that with. And you don't have to get these. You really don't. But I'm just going to show you, I think, how you can use a bag instead of the glass. If you have baggies, again, that could be another expense, but you can get baggies at the Dollar Tree, and, I don't know, there's probably 10 or so in there for $1, so it's not a bad deal. But you can literally use a bag or a piece of packaging, to do it on. Just whatever you have, feel free to use it. And you're not going to ruin these because you're going to clean them off. So you can still reuse your baggies, reuse your packaging, whatever the plan is. And again, these colors are very concentrated, so a little dab will do you. And that's way more than a little dab. So I'm going to have to dilute that quite a bit, so I may have to take a break and go get just some water real quick. But I want to wet that down. And this one doesn't seem to be moving as much as the green. So I'm going to make it move. I'm going to take my little card and kind of move that around in the water a little bit to mix that up. Now, my colors are also very old, several years old. So it may take a little bit of mixing if you have some like the bee and they're old. And the gel, sometimes you have to work with it to get it, to all incorporate with your water really good. I think that's a little dark, so I'm going to add a little bit more water. I mean, I use like way too much blue. So just, be aware if you're using those concentrated gel food colorings that a little dab will do. You can always add more, but you can't really take it away. All right, I think that's probably going to be better. I do want to spread that out some because I don't want it to be blobbed all up. Now, let's say that you don't have any plastic wrap, saran wrap, whatever you want to call it. You can then take a piece of your packaging and just set it on here. Let me bring my page back over. Oops. And I can take this, and it's got, some on it, probably a little more than I wanted, and just kind of set it down. I mean, you don't want to do it any kind of, where it looks like it's, one right after the other. You kind of want to mix it up a little bit. So you can do, anything, and I'm just really kind of dropping it, and wherever it falls, that's where it's going to get some color. And, if you don't like the line look, then you can kind of fold your packaging up a little bit dab it in there, and again, you know, you can play with your colors, and when it dries, it'll be absolutely gorgeous. So that's kind of, you know, what my plan was with my excess. And of course, this wasn't excess because I haven't done a page in my book yet. And now I just kind of need to wipe my fingers off a little bit because I'm going to have dye for days on every page if I don't quit that. Oh, here's how my green page dried. I left that. Isn't that gorgeous? So I'm going to stick that right back in my book. And I'm going to grab another page. And I don't want every page to look the same. So, and look, I already got green on this page, which it's okay. I don't care. So now I'm going to take, you know, a piece of plastic. And I'm going to kind of, you know, just dab that on there. You can also use, you know, Q-tips, makeup sponges, you know, whatever you have. Let me grab a makeup sponge. You know, now the color won't come out of these. You can wash them, but, you know, you're not going to get all the color out because this is such a concentrated color. You can make all kind of different effects with different things that you have. You know, you can take your little bottle and make, you know, different effects. You can make them perfect circles, or you can kind of do the edges like I'm doing here. And it just gives you some different looks on your paper. And I just wanted, you know, some little splashes of color here and there in my book. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. Is just putting some little dabs of color. If you have a paintbrush, let me see if I can show you. Well, those are big. All right, this would probably work. This is an old fan brush that, you know, the bristles are about shot in it. You can take, you know, and load it up with some of this, and you can flick paint on there, or not paint, color. And you can use paint. Like I said, you can do this with, you know, food coloring. You can do it with watercolors. You can do it with your acrylic paints. You know, I mean, just, so don't waste anything because you end up with some really, really cool effects. And it's fun to play with. I mean, I just love playing with it. And I just love the pops of color here and there. Now this blue is drying a little darker than I want it to, but I'll still be able to write over it and read. And it almost looks like I kind of made a G or something out of that, a small, you know, G. All right, so I'm going to call that quits on that page because I think it's really pretty. And so now I need to, you know, get rid of the rest of this, and I don't really want to waste it. So I'm going to work with it on my, you know, on my spare paper for right now. I'm just going to kind of, you know, and if you have a bigger paintbrush than what I was using, you know, you can get some pretty nice splatters too. But be aware when you splatter these that you can splatter it like everywhere. So you kind of want to be careful with that. My paint's kind of spreading out, so let me, or not my paint. Y'all know what I'm dealing with. I just stuck my hands on the wrong side of the paper. Wasn't that special? I bet y'all are laughing at me. Okay, now this is ready to be cleaned. So now I'm going to take, I got this card that I got stuff on. For the most part, I got that off. And then this bag still has some color on it, and I don't want to waste my color. And so I'll let some of that drip on there. And then I'm just going to take and clean my bag off on my paper. You know, and just imagine, wouldn't that make like gorgeous tags, you know, once you cut that up, make some gorgeous tags or embellishment pieces. I mean, just beautiful. Okay, so now to clean that up, all I'm going to do is take, you know, whatever cleaner you happen to have handy, spray your little piece, wipe it off, and you can reuse everything that, you know, that you've used. It's just, it's an easy cleanup. It's not like you have a mess everywhere. Like I said, the only warning I have is if you're using those concentrated colors, be very careful. They will stain everything, including my hands. My hands will look like, well, similar to this for days, no matter how many times I wash them. I think I'm out of bleach. I know you're not supposed to put bleach on your skin, but Hardhead does. You know, and so do as I say, not as I do, right? But these colors are very difficult to get off. So I do recommend you use gloves if you have them. I have no excuse, none, for not wearing gloves. I have hundreds of them, but I don't like working in gloves. You know, and right now with COVID going on, I have to wear them whenever I go anywhere and do anything. So it's like I'm so done with COVID. I'm so done with the gloves. You know, and so I don't wear them if I don't have to. I just don't like gloves. I mean, I'm just not, that's just not me. Okay, and this piece I can clean off the same way, you know, just with the cleaner, and I think I have enough on here. And you know what, if I don't get it all off the packaging and it leaves a blue tint, I'm okay with that. See, some got down in there, and I am okay with that. I think that is going to give it some interest and some texture for whatever I use this piece for. So I kind of like that. So I'm going to set that aside to dry too. And I'm going to try to pull in some watercolor real quick. If I can get to it. Can't believe my trash can got gone. Oh my goodness. Y'all are going to have to see me reach. I apologize. Hang on just a second. Oh my. Oh my. I just knocked some stuff over. Oh my. Send help. I just really wanted like some cheap watercolor. Oh, that hadn't even been open. Let's grab another one. I don't think this one's been open either, but we're going to go with it. Whatever. Oh, it has been. Okay. So now, if you want to work with watercolor, then you're going to need your piece of glass, your piece of plastic, or whatever. No, this hasn't been opened. It's taped or something. Let's see if I can get that open now. Well, maybe not. Here we go. All right. So now I'm going to work with some watercolor, just whatever colors I want. And so I want to, let's say we're going to go with, what colors do we use? Blue and green. Let's throw a little purple in with it. Now, usually you have your little water pot sitting there, and you would wet your brush first, because anytime you use them wet, you want your brush to be wet. So you would dip this in your water and, you know, get it pretty good, and you're going to work your paint a little bit if you're working with these dry ones. Now, even if you're working with the ones in the tubes and you've let them dry and then you can go back and reuse them anyway, you know, you still, and spraying this is causing some of the color to jump on the other ones. So that's another reason why you want to use a little pot of water, so that you're not, you know, I guess contaminating the other ones. Now, I want to put this other piece in my book. Let me show you how the blue dried. Isn't that pretty? I mean, it's just really, really pretty. So I'm going to put that back in here so I know what I'm doing. And then I'm going to take this piece, and I just want to splatter some purple on there. And all I'm doing with my bristles is just lifting and kind of flicking. That's it. You know, if you want to try to paint something on there, go for it. And again, when you splatter, it's going to kind of get everywhere. So you know, this would be better to put like on your glass or on your plastic, you know, to catch your mess and be able to wipe it up. You know, and I can do this as long as I want to get as much color on there, you know, as I want. If you have a bigger bristle brush, then you, of course, can flick more paint at one time. But that is so cute. I mean, that is so amazingly cute, just flicking that paint on there. And it adds some color, it adds some texture and interest. You know, I just love that. I really should have just opened that lid and poured some water instead. And of course, the more water that you put in your paint, the thinner your paint gets, and so the lighter it will be. So kind of keep that in mind when you're adding water, that you don't want to put too much. But remember also that once you put this down, that's the color it's going to be. Now, because it is watercolor, sometimes you can spray it and get a little motion in your paints, get them to kind of move over or run or not be so big in one spot. But I think that is really pretty. I just love it. And it's just a pop of color, and it's already dry. So, it's another great technique to use is the watercolor paints. So I'm just going to kind of clean this brush out a little bit. And yes, I do have some soapy water over here. I just didn't have any plain water over here. And I'm not obsessively trying to get the paint out, just, you know, the majority. Now, oh, and what I was going to do was on my paper that I had, and on that paper towel was flick some of that on there, but I'm not, you know, it is what it is. I could, I guess, take my paper towel and maybe dab a little bit here and there, just to kind of dry that up. I don't want it to look like a perfect circle. I just wanted some, like some dabs of color. Ooh, isn't that pretty? That's turning out really pretty. Okay, so for the most part, I got the water out of there, which it's not necessary. It'll dry and it'll be back in a cake. But just to show y'all, it's just some things you can do. I can take this watercolor. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's do another color there. Okay, let's do a pink. This time I'm gonna pour some water on here instead of spraying it. Ooh, well, I poured a lot of water on there. I didn't mean to. All right. So now I'm just gonna, oh God, I did not get that clean at all. I really made a mess of that. Paper towel, paper towel. Okay, wow, I thought I had that brush a little bit cleaner than that. Ooh, wait, that is the same brush? I don't know if it is or not. Susie, grab another brush. This is ridiculous. You can clean that one later. Okay, let me just grab another brush. And I don't know what kind of brushes these are. I don't know even where they came from. I think these were some that I got when my friend died. All right, let's try this again. Oh, well, too much water. Good thing I got a new brush, right? Now, see, I see a little blue over here, so I'm just going to take that towel and just dab it up. And all it did was just add a little more interest to it. And so, let me hang that back up to dry. All right, so now I'm going to mix this up a little bit. I want to get some color over here on this plastic. That's my goal right now, to get some color over here. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Just, you know, you just want color. And, you know, this is when it's good, like, to have the watercolor that's in the tubes that you can squirt out, like, a pea-size amount. And those are way, way, way more concentrated than, like, these tray ones that you get, you know, at, you know, the craft stores for several dollars, or Walmart or whatever. You know, they are, you get darker and deeper colors with the ones in the tubes. And even if you mix these a lot, you're not going to get, I don't think, the deep color that it represents there. So, all right, so I put some paint on here, and I don't think I have enough water, but we're going to try it. So, and I'm just going to spray. Spray all this pink if I have enough water to do it. Looks like I might have to move it around too, but I'm going to move this around with my brush because I really don't want a big concentration in my brush. Okay. Now, what I want to do is grab another page out of my little journal. Kind of a blank page. Move this over to one side a little bit. And this one, I think I'm just going to flick it on there. And I want to really kind of flick this until I'm really not flicking any more paint out. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm trying to get the majority of it out of here. And once I do, I kind of want to get more out of the brush. So I'm putting it on this part of the plastic that didn't have any paint, because I just want to give this some more interest. And nothing needs to be in the same design or anything. And it just created some depth. It created some interest. The colors automatically, you know, are darker in places and lighter in places. And it looks like I spent a long time getting that effect. And obviously I did not. And, you know, you saw what little bit of color that I took out of here and put on here. And then once I sprayed it with water, I was just having an insane amount, you know, of color. So seriously, a little tiny dab will do you. And it is hard to gauge when you're taking them out of here, you know, or just trying to get a little tiny, not even a pea size amount, you know, to do. I mean, I'm talking about maybe like a BB size. I mean, start small. Okay, and again, I'm going to kind of wipe this out a little bit, get as much paint off of that as I can. And then I just want to give it some effects. Okay, and this will be dry in just a few seconds. I mean, it doesn't take long. And I can still write over that, and it is gorgeous. So, now we're back to, oops, our extra paint. So, I'm going to take our page, our blue and green page, and I think I'm just going to kind of set it here and there to, you know, to pick up some of it, just to add a little interest. But I don't want all the color to be in one spot. Okay, and see, this is already trying to dry on here. So I'm going to try to give it a little squirt and rehydrate that just a little bit. Because I don't, I mean, I've got the paint. Why not use it, right? Or not the, yeah, this is paint. Oh, I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Okay, so that's how I pick up that excess paint, and now it's got a little more color in it, and it looks like it has more depth. This is still the same flat piece of paper, but just because I'm building color on top of color, it makes it look like it's coming off the page more. I hope that makes sense to you. So then, again, to clean this, I would just take my wipe and, a little whatever. I think what I'm using is either Awesome or glass cleaner. I don't know. It smells like both. And I do have some ink down here that I could pick up with my paper. But I'm just going to grab this paper towel because it's right here and lift up any paint that might be sitting on there. And I end up with some interesting colors. So, and by the way, once this dries, I can peel this apart. This is 2 layers. And one side will look different than the other side. I don't know if you can already tell that, but that doesn't really look like that. So you end up with some interesting effects, but just be sure to wipe stuff off. All right, now let's go to the next page, and I'm going to show you another technique that you can absolutely use, that I use a lot, and I actually learned this particular technique from G. Kerr. Now, you can use any watercolor inks that you have to do this. It doesn't have to be a Distress ink or, any particular name brand. Any watercolor will work. And you get out your glass, your plastic, your baggie, whatever it is that you're using, and you just rub it on there. Just a little bit. I mean, you don't need much. Okay? And then we're going to spray that. I'm telling you, I'm really, really working this little bottle. It's saying, look, we don't have any water. We want to keep the little tiny bit that we have. So again, all you're doing is the same thing as you did with the food coloring and the paint, is you're kind of diluting that down, getting it to move a little bit. You can even move it. You can make it move. You can do anything you want to with it. I mean, it's yours, so, have fun. And, and now you can take your piece of plastic, whatever it is, and you can start doing that, or you can get another paintbrush and flick that on. This one, I think I'm going to kind of go for more of a brushed look. And this is a more, the other brushes I were using were real flimsy. This one is more of a stiff brush, and I'm doing that on purpose. Now, I don't want this to be too much on here. I just pulled the whole thing out, didn't I? Well, that's the way to go. I think I want to do more kind of like randomness in this. And because this is such a light blue, it's not going to show like blue, and it doesn't have like the same types of, I mean, it's got pigment, but it's not the same types of pigments that we had in the food coloring, which was very, very concentrated. And this is not. It just doesn't have those darker pigments. Plus, it's a lighter blue, you know, that I picked to use. Just simply because I don't have a lot of, say, distress inks laying around. I do have some that I've made, you know, but they're like over there, and this was like right here, so I used it. So that's going to be really pretty when it dries, and it's almost dry actually already. So now I have my extras here, and again, I can bring in this piece, or I can bring in my paper towel and just kind of dab it around a little bit. Just to pick up that extra ink like that. And because there's already blue in here, this is going to give that blue and some of the colors around it kind of a different look and feel to it. Look how beautiful that is. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, if I wanted to, since all this is watercolor, I could spray this and make the colors move some. But I'm liking it just the way it is. So, you know, you don't have to waste whatever product you're using. And then what I want to do is I really like the way that's looking. But I think I want to go back in with like some vintage photo to, you know, just messy it a little bit, I think. What is this? That's brick. Well, that might look all right too, mightn't it? All right, let's try some of that. That might be absolutely the wrong color, but we'll find out. Yeah, this bottle is screaming at me that, you know, it's empty. That looks more like an orange, doesn't it? I bet it's going to look just fine, though. What do you think? Okay, I think my bottle says I'm done. Okay. And again, I'm going to kind of go for that brushed over. Well, I was going to. And then this decided just that it didn't want to do that. I want to do something else. And again, just by adding the second color here, it's going to give it more dimension. You know, it's going to be more interest. It'll draw the eye in more. And, you know, it just kind of brings life to everything. And, you know, call it abstract, call it, you know, saving paint or ink or whatever. Call it whatever you want to. But the fact is, you know, they look very unique. You know, they are very pretty. So now that I have put this on top of the other, and this was actually paper that I had glued together, this is going to take a little bit longer to dry than the other ones did. All right, so again, I'm back to having leftovers, so I can either use that paper towel or I can bring this in and just, you know, moving around a little bit to pick up all the extra stuff. And then, you know what, you can't really see that color, but it changed the colors that it touched. And I think it's awesome. So, yeah, I hope y'all will try some of these techniques. And that was the last page that I was going to ink anyway, so that did work out perfectly to show y'all that. Now, this page will be going in here once it's dry, like that, okay? And that is just going to be absolutely a stunning looking journal. So, oh, wait, here's more pages. No, I wasn't finished. I just thought I was finished. Here's more little pages. So I'm going to continue on off camera to add color in my book. And I may even add color to this little envelope. So for this week, I'm going to finish putting, you know, the colors. I've only got 1, 2, maybe three more pages that I might add ink to. You know, I may add some to this. And I'm thinking I want, I don't know, maybe a splash of color around this envelope. Or I could just try to distress it first and see if I want to color. But it seems like it needs a pop of color of some kind, so I'm sure I'm going to do that. So I'm going to continue on making pockets, checking to make sure everything that I put down is glued together, whatever. Because once we get our pockets and our tags in there, it needs to be sturdy enough to hold them. So for the rest of, you know, for the next week until, what days was until Friday, just work on getting any pockets that you want. Make sure they're functional. Go ahead and put your journaling cards in them. You know, get those kind of things ready. If you haven't sewn your signature in like me, you may be ready to do that, and you may not. I'm not, because I know when I embellish it, it's going to get much thicker. And I'm already thinking I'm going to have to split this in half to make 2 signatures in that instead of 1, but we'll see. But I still, you know, have to do something with this envelope. And so I'm just going to set it right here to remind myself to do it. And that's what I'm going to work on. So by the time you see me next, I will have my pockets, my corner tucks, and my tags done. You don't have to have them all done, you know, by next Thursday, because that's what, the 20-something. So we'll end up having another, like, week or 10 days after next Friday, before the 1st. However, that time clicks off fast, and we want that last week to do nothing but embellish everything, to put our laces on, our trims on, our, you know, anything that we, you know, need a towel and didn't put, or anything that might need a tab that we didn't put. That's when we do our final cleanup and final getting it together. And so, you know, this next week, have it ready, basically, to embellish. Now, like I said, I'm not going to sew my end until I figure out what embellishments I'm going to use. You know, for this, it's already kind of a little gator mouth. By the time I add embellishments, it's going to be pretty chunky. So I need to be careful with how many embellishments, because, you know, this cover is only so big. And to try to put 2 signatures in this would be pretty doggone tough. So I'm trying to stick with 1 signature, embellish it slightly. I do think I'm going to go in, you know, on some of these pages and take my scripty stamp, you know, and just stamp here and there, you know, so the pages aren't just stark blank when you look at them. So get out your stamps, you know, maybe some little nature stamps for your corner, or little sayings, or, you know, maybe a scripture verse, whatever, you know, whatever kind of little stamps you have. You know, if you have little corner stamps that you kind of want to decorate up, you know, little corners of your paper, do that. You know, just do you, whatever is good for you. Because ultimately you're the one making it, and you're the one that has to like it. So that's kind of what we did today. I hope y'all enjoyed that. I mean, I have really enjoyed the process of making this gratitude journal. It has caused me a lot of gratitude to do it. I'm recognizing things that have meant a lot to me in my life, and I've become so thankful for the experiences, even the bad ones, because they've shaped my life, they've molded me. And it, you know, how do you say thank you for something like that? I mean, it's just amazing. Okay, this is pretty dry now, so I can put that one back in. I love that. I think it looks great. I do. I really think it looks great. So let's see where I want to put that. I think I'm going to put it right here. I think, yeah. I think. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay. So I've only got like 1 or 2 more, you know, to add color to, 1 or 2 more pages. And then I really am going to think about my corner tucks, you know, maybe altered paper clips if I want to do those. And if I do any of those, I'll show you how I did it. I won't just show you every one, you know, but I'll show you how I did it. Or I could use, you know, I don't know, put some more tags, you know, pockets, tucks, anything, little journals. If you're going to put a little journal or anything in some of your pockets, go ahead and make it, you know. Go ahead and get your pages together, sew them into their little covers, or glue them in, however you're going to get them there, and have them ready, and go ahead and stick them in your pockets. And if you're making little miniature journals, remember, you don't want to make it where you can't write in them, or it's not really a journal. So leave journaling space. That's probably the best advice that I can give you on the little journals, is to keep them really plain. I mean, you can add stamps or some interest like this or whatever, but you just don't want to make it where you can't write in them. It makes them, you know, not functional. I mean, do you? I mean, if you like them that way and you're never ever going to write in it, you know, then by all means, you know. But if you're going to try to write in it and still read, you know, and the thing about a journal, when you put those splashes of color like I did today, if somebody, you know, sees your journal sitting out and they start flipping through it, they aren't necessarily reading the words that you've written, thank God, because sometimes you don't want anybody to know what you wrote, but they are struck by the color, by the patterns. That's what's catching their eyes, not your words, unless you have like really incredible writing. Most people don't these days. The older people still do, but the younger people don't know how to write in cursive, and it's really sad. But back in the day, everybody had well, not everybody, but the handwriting you saw was just out of this world. So, and remember, you can always use gesso. You can always use any paints you have, whatever. If you don't like the way something looks, you can mute it down with those things and then ink it. I also am going to make a decision whether I'm going to ink my pages. And if I decide to do that, this is the week I'm going to do it. Because I do want to save that last week or 10 days to really pick out the embellishments that I want that are going to kind of tie it all together. Some people would never, ever put this many different, color splashes in there. They'll say, oh, that doesn't go together. It doesn't matter. I don't go together. I'm in pieces, My life has been about a piece of this and a piece of that. And color is important to me. So I like the splashes of color. I really, really do. So that's, to each their own, right? I mean, everybody's kind of different. And that's why I always tell y'all, just do you. So, whatever you decide, have fun with it. Have an absolute blast with it. I did want to say, if you're using a pattern like I am, you're going to have to allow to put your journal at the bottom and still leave room for those flaps to open and to close. And even though this is going to be sewn in here and it'll lift up, this will get caught if you're not careful. And some of it's going to get caught anyway unless you cut your flaps off even shorter, which is fine to do too, but you still want them to look like flaps. But so with this one, I'm going to sew it in, trying to take it to the bottom rather than in the middle like we do. I mean, the middle would be fine too. I think I would just really want to take these more at an angle if I do that, just so there's not so much of a chance of it getting caught. Like I said, it's going to get caught anyway. But keep in mind how you have to sew that in. If you're going to sew it in this way, just know that you might be aggravated with your pockets unless you cut that more of an angle. And really, if you cut this at an angle, you probably should cut that so they kind of look the same, or just tear them. And then they'll look, like, oh my God, that really was worn out. So, make your final decisions on how you want to, what order you want to put your papers in, which papers you want to use. Do you want to use stamps? Do you want to use stencils? Do you want to use color like I did, or in any form? What do you want to do? Go ahead and make your tags, your little booklets, your little mini journal, whatever it is that you're going to add. And like I said, I wanted to keep these pages pretty much blank where I could write on them, because this is my gratitude journal. I'm not selling this. I'm not giving it away. I'm not doing anything. This is for me. And so, and this represents me, the color, the splotches, because, we just, our life is, kind of like that. And I don't know if this will hold color, but I may try. I don't know. I kind of like it the way it looks. Anyway, I am not going to keep y'all all night. This is, so much fun, and it has been a blessing to me already. I think even if I never wrote in this, the process of making it has been such a blessing to me, and I'm already learning more and appreciating more about gratitude. So, or thankfulness, whichever word you want to use. And I know that, across the pond, they don't have Thanksgiving, like we do. Thanksgiving is an American celebration from when the white man came to America and made peace with the Indians, or now they call them, what do they call them now? Oh, my goodness. Native Americans. And they made peace with the Native Americans, and they shared their harvest, their bounty from what they grew, the animals they raised, and things like that. And that was, kind of a peaceful time in our history. And then, of course, it all blew up again, just like it always does. But anyway, we are still thankful that we were able to come to America and have a bountiful harvest. And that harvest is anything in your life. And we're not just talking about food. We're talking about a spiritual harvest, a mental health harvest, a physical being, how your body is, harvest. We have harvested so much, and we've abused so much. And so I think the gratitude or thankfulness, and our Thanksgiving here in the United States reminds us to be thankful, not just for the Pilgrims coming and settling and, working things out with the Native Americans. Now it's about the harvest of your life. And we harvest so many things every day that we don't even recognize as a harvest. And this has really given me a chance to do that. So even if you're across the pond and don't have Thanksgiving, and I wasn't wanting to do a Thanksgiving journal, I didn't want this to be about American Thanksgiving. I wanted this to be about gratitude. But just because November is our Thanksgiving month where we're thankful, thankfulness is another word for gratitude. And I didn't want it to be Thanksgiving, so I've stayed away from the word Thanksgiving and stuck with gratitude. And, you know, in December, Cindy and I are working on a project to have something available on what our next subject is going to be for December, but we'll be making the journal in November, you know, while we're writing in this one. And I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. You know, I haven't talked to Cindy about announcing it yet. I wanted to get closer to finishing this one. I don't want to kind of confuse it. I think once we get to the embellishment stage of this, that's when I'll announce what we're planning on for December. And I'll need to because, you know, y'all want to kind of get ready for November to start your next little journal. And I'm hoping that the journals that you pick to either make or use are kind of small so that you can maybe do like a monthly journal series for a year. And then you can look back at the different topics and the reflections that you got from it and what it's meant in your life. And that's what I'm hoping to do with the final page of this, or maybe even in this, you know, big pocket, is to list what I've learned and how I've grown through making this. Okay, I am off the bandwagon. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just rambling. I'm so sorry. Okay, I love you all. I will see you tomorrow for more of our 3 and 15 challenge, and for our color challenge. I've got to get caught up on that. Now, also in our morning in the United States on the East Coast. So this is Eastern Standard Time. I will be on live at 7 a.m. Now, across the pond, that's going to translate to about, 12, 1, 2, 3 in the afternoon for the folks across the pond. So that's going to give more people an opportunity to join us. And Rachel from Craft Portal will be joining me, and we are going to bombard her with questions on how to use YouTube properly, how to use our whole YouTube studio, whatever questions you may have. Now, because, we're going to be on a time limit tomorrow, it's just not going to go on and on and on. It's going to be on a time limit. And because we're doing that, she will probably, and I'm guessing, I don't know, but I'm guessing she's probably going to answer as quickly as she can to get the point across, and then she'll go back and do a more in-depth video on the questions that are raised to better answer. But just because of the time constraints, we want to get all the questions to her, even if she has to go make a video afterwards to explain the process. But she needs to know what you want to know. And I have lots of questions, so hopefully we can get the questions asked, and, she'll make some videos to give us the answers. I'm sure she'll give us some quick ones, tomorrow, but for the most part, I feel like that she's going to say, you know what, that's going to take more than, 10 or 20 minutes to explain, and we don't have that much time, so I'll make a video and post it on how to, I don't know, read a book backwards. Whatever it is that she's going to post. But she's great. Y'all are going to love her. She giggles all the time. She just makes you giggle, and you don't even know why you're giggling. You're just giggling. And, happiness is always a good thing. The Bible says, laughter doeth good like a medicine, and it really does. Okay. Thank y'all all for coming. I love you all. Thank you for subscribing to me and supporting me. Please give me a thumbs up, please, and leave me a comment below, just of encouragement. If you like these techniques that I did, let me know. If you don't, let me know. If you know of something else that would do what I'm trying to accomplish, please let me know. Because either I haven't thought of it, I don't know how to do it, I've never seen it done, and I love to learn. So, and, there's so many techniques we forget about, that bring them up. Let me know. And never, ever feel intimidated. None of us are in any competition. We are here to complement each other, not compete with each other. And just because I do something different to you doesn't mean I'm wrong. It just means I do it different than you. And so I am not critical of the way that you do anything. I learn from every person. Even if I choose not to do it their way, I've still learned something. And I still may have tried what they did to see if I could make that work for me. So, do you, whatever you is. I love y'all. I will see you tomorrow. Blessings and hugs to everybody. I'm praying for you all every single day. Y'all are so special. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.